The airport was shrouded in eerie silence as the passengers gathered at Gate 13, waiting to board Flight 666. The weather was clear, the sun slowly setting on the horizon, but a foreboding sense of unease hung in the air. The flight attendants, who usually wore warm smiles, now donned expressions of uncertainty. Among the passengers, Sarah, a young woman with a deep fear of flying, clutched her armrest tightly as she boarded the plane. The fear was palpable, her heart racing as she took her seat by the window. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer, seeking solace in her faith. As the engines roared to life, the cabin lights flickered ominously, casting eerie shadows throughout the plane. The flight attendants, nervous and fumbling with their safety demonstrations, tried to maintain their composure. The passengers exchanged uneasy glances, sensing that something was amiss. The flight took off, and the unsettling atmosphere persisted. Turbulence rocked the plane, causing a collective gasp from the passengers. Sarah's grip on the armrest tightened, her knuckles turning white as her anxiety grew. Beside her, an elderly man mumbled incoherently, his eyes wide with terror. Over the intercom, the pilot's voice crackled, "Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to be experiencing some technical difficulties. Please remain calm while we work to resolve the issue." His voice trembled as he spoke, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a chill run down her spine. Time seemed to stretch as the plane continued to shake. Strange noises echoed through the cabin, unidentifiable and unsettling. The flight attendants moved about the cabin with forced smiles, trying to keep the passengers calm, but their eyes betrayed their own growing fear. The plane's monitors displayed a map of the flight path, and Sarah noticed that they were veering off course. Panic swept through the passengers, and some began to cry out. The elderly man beside her was now clutching his chest, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. As the plane descended through a thick blanket of clouds, a dense fog engulfed the aircraft. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she tried to catch her breath. Out of the window, she could barely see anything. The world had become a gray, disorienting void. Suddenly, a ghastly figure appeared outside the window, illuminated by the dim cabin lights. It was a spectral pilot, clad in a tattered uniform, his hollow eyes fixed on the passengers. Sarah gasped, and those around her screamed in terror. The elderly man beside her slumped in his seat, his eyes lifeless, his heart no longer beating. Panic erupted as passengers rushed down the aisle, desperate to escape the nightmare unfolding before them. The flight attendants, now trembling with fear, were unable to control the chaos. Sarah, frozen in her seat, watched as the phantom pilot's ghostly hand reached for the cockpit door. With a chilling smile, he pushed it open and disappeared inside. The plane suddenly leveled off, and the fog began to dissipate. The passengers, still in a state of shock, found themselves back on course, heading towards their intended destination. The flight attendants regained their composure and offered comforting words, but the horror of what had just transpired haunted the passengers. As Flight 666 finally landed, the passengers disembarked in a daze, haunted by the nightmare they had endured. No one could explain what had happened, but one thing was certain. They had all survived a flight that was more than just a mere journey. It was a flight of terror that would haunt their dreams for years to come. If you liked the story, don't forget to like and subscribe.